Welcome to this chapter on system resets and initializations of the jf017e transmission. In this chapter you'll learn about transmission and engine management systems, resets, and initializations. We're also going to cover the recommended programming updates, relearns, test drive procedures. My name is Jared Warren and I will be your host for this chapter. It's a great day to fix transmission, so let's get started. Alright, so the TCM is getting data and it's learning how the transmission operates under normal driving conditions. It stores this data to be able to jump in the car and take off and drive good. So it basically relearns data and saves the data. So basically for that reason we're going to have to reprogram a new TCM. And we're going to have to relearn it. So here's some of the stuff that we need to do. Also, there's a ROM inside the transmission that the computer reads off of also. So let's get started. First we need to do is we're using a Consult 2 or equivalent scan tool that's going to be able to do some of the initialization and writing the characteristics. So first we're going to save TCM data. So what we're basically doing here is we're saving the TCM data to the scan tool. So we're going to turn the ignition switch off, wait for 10 seconds, turn the ignition switch back on. We're going to go into the work support section under transmission, and then we're going to read IP characteristic, replace TCM is what you're going to select. And basically what that is doing is going to put all the information from the TCM into the laptop or scan tool and store it there. Follow the screen instructions. Then what we're going to do is basically change the TCM out. So you want the ignition switch off, wait 10 seconds, replace the TCM. So now the new TCM is in the car. Now we need to take the information from the old TCM and put into the new one. So what we're going to do is we're going to write the TCM data. So we're going to turn the ignition switch off, and then we're going to wait 10 seconds, turn the ignition switch back on. Under the transmission section, we're going to go to work support in the transmission section, and we're going to select write IP characteristic replacement TCM. So this writes the data into the new TCM. Basically finish out any instructions that are on the scan tool. And we just wrote the old data from the old TCM to the new TCM. So after we rebuild the transmission or replace the transaxle, something along those lines, we're going to need to redo the programming on this, also the memory from the ROM. So let's see here. First we needed to retrieve the data. So for this we're going to go in and erase the data stored in the TCM and write new data. The TCM records the degradation level of the CVT fluid calculated from the vehicle driving status. We're going to also change that, basically reset that value too. So what we do is on scan tool, we go ahead and check the serial number on the transmission, and we're going to write that down, and we're going to check that later on in the scan tool. Turn the ignition switch on. Insert the attached CVD, the CD into Consult. What they mean by that is when you get a new reman transmission or valve body, they send a CD with it. They kind of quit doing this now, but they're still out there. So then you would take the CD disc and you're going to put that into the laptop, and you're going to select the work support under the transmission section. And then you select write IP characteristic replacement AT-CVT. We don't want to write the AP the heuristics at this time though, and that's what you're going to select. We just want to select that, and we're going to check that serial number that we wrote down that's supposed to be on top of transmissions, and see if they're good. The transmission is compatible. So now we're going to initialize the TCM. Go ahead and start set the park brake. Select erase memory data. Touch start, and then follow the instructions on the scan tool. To write the data, you put the shifter lever into the park position, turn the ignition switch off, wait 10 seconds, then turn it back on. Then go into that work support section under transmission, and then we're going to select write IP heuristic replacement AT-CVT transmission. Write data in the TCM according to the instructions on the console or the scan tool. So basically, where you just took the information off the disk, put it into the laptop, and then verified that they're compatible, and then wrote that information into the heuristics of the solenoids is what we're basically doing here. We need to put a new valve body on it, so we're matched the TCM and the heuristics of the solenoids together with this programming. When the writing is complete, the shifter position indicator on the combination meter reads park. There's some other resets to do: the G sensor, steering angle, throttle body relearn, clutch learn, and these vary from vehicle to vehicle. So the TCM calculates and stores transmission fluid life values. This is basically based on time, based on mileage, driving habits, that kind of thing. So as the vehicle puts more miles on it, if you run stop and go traffic all the time, this degradation value is going to go higher and higher, and light will come on before a person that does a bunch of highway driving and in a colder climate. So it just calculates when the transmission fluid needs to be changed. In my opinion, it's never accurate. You need to do it before the code is set. As you see, the degradation value is 210,000 miles or more on the fluid. And it says it needs to be changed. Well, it needs to be changed a lot sooner than 210,000 miles. So when we are doing a major repair, we'll go in there and you want to reset the counter basically. So go into the scan tool and reset the oil monitor. In the scan tool, you go to data monitoring and then select confirm CVTF deterioration. Select erase, turn the engine off. That basically turns off, resets the counter to 0 and starts all over. Also do it the same factory scan tool. Go into like work support transmission, confirm, same thing, and then clear. So they're all a little bit different. Most scan tools should have this reset. Hopefully everybody's does. If not, it's a good idea to take this thing to the dealer and get the resets done. Calibration of the D-cell G sensor. So basically what this D-cell G sensor is, it knows acceleration and deceleration, how hard you're accelerating or slowing down. So we're going to go ahead and calibrate the G sensor. They want you to use a consult, of course. It can be done without it. It does say here calibration can be done without it. There is some other scan tools that do the calibration for the G sensor. So we're gonna align the vehicle status. So we want to make sure that the vehicle is stopped with the wheels going straight ahead. Then perform the calibration of the D-cell G sensor. On the console screen, touch work support and D-cell G send calibration in order. Then you want to touch start Approximately after 10 seconds, touch end. And after approximately 60 seconds, it ends automatically. So if you don't end it before, if you hit stop and you don't end it, it's going to automatically end at 60 seconds. Go ahead and turn the ignition switch off and then turn it on again. Then you can go ahead and look on your scan tool. Just check the data monitor. Run vehicle with front wheels in straight ahead position, then stop. Select data monitor and make sure the D cell G sensor is within plus or minus 0.08 G. If that's the result, it says go to 4 if it is true, and then you're just going to erase the diagnostic memory of the ABS and ECM. So we're just clearing all the codes. If it is under 0.08, that's good to go, and we're going to move on. Steering angle sensor. Changing, use the console again to adjust steering angle position. You want to align the vehicle, so basically stop the vehicle with the wheels going straight ahead. So you go into the work support section under ST angle SEN adjust, and then hit start. You don't want to touch the steering wheel while it's adjusting the steering angle sensor. Approximately after 10 seconds, press end. Same thing, if you didn't press end, it's going to end itself at the end of 60 seconds. Turn the ignition off, turn the ignition back on, and then we're going to check the monitor and see what the steering angle is with the wheels headed straight. It should be under 2.5 or less. If it is, then we're done. Erase all the codes and ready for a test drive. If not, we got to start back over. Throttle valve closed position. Turn the ignition switch on. Select closed throttle position. Learn, and under work support, follow the instructions on the scan tool. Same thing. Turn the key off. Turn it back on. Look on the scan tool. Check that the throttle valve moves during 10 seconds to confirm the operation. So that's one way of doing the throttle. Here's without the console. It says you want to start the engine. Temperature needs to be 77 degrees Fahrenheit at least. Or it wants to be less than 77 degrees Fahrenheit before the engine starts. Then it wants you to warm the engine up until coolant temp S on the data monitor of the console reaches 149 degrees. So basically get the engine up to 149 degrees. Turn the ignition switch off and wait at least 10 seconds. Check the throttle valve moves during the above 10 seconds. So you're going to be looking at the throttle valve and seeing if anything's moving when you shut the ignition off. Alright, so we're about done here, and then we're going to perform the select learning, basically drive to reverse engagements. We're going to want to set the park rate, start the engine and wait 5 seconds. Move the shifter into the neutral position, wait 2 seconds, then into the drive position, and wait for the transmission to engage. Then you'll want to put this back up in a neutral, wait 2 seconds, and then back down into drive until it engages. You want to repeat those two procedures 10 times. Then you'll want to go to put the shifter in neutral, wait 2 seconds, then up into reverse and wait for it to engage. And then it wants to repeat those procedures 10 times. Then put the shifter in park and go ahead and shut it off. After all these resets and test drives are done, or resets are all done, it's ready to go on a test drive. Let's start out, basically make sure the engine is warm transmissions up to operating temperature, and there's no codes in any of the systems. You'll want to start out with a little throttle angle and accelerate to roughly 40 miles per hour. Slow back down and then do it again, so accelerate up to roughly 40 miles per hour. Gradual throttle. Do this roughly 5 times. Then go on a good long road test and test all the different driving conditions, throttle angles, going around corners, see if you can find any symptoms that you're having, any issues that you need to deal with before you go ahead and release the car to the customer. Alright, so that's going to conclude our chapter on system resets and initializations for the jf017e transmission. We want to thank you for participating in our virtual training solutions powered by ATRA. Until next time, let's keep fixing the transmissions together.